Hello, this is Janice So from Escape Studios for the Foundry. In this video, we will be looking at the new vector generator and motion blur nodes in Nuke 9. We will investigate what's new so you can adapt to the new nodes in no time. These nodes have adopted the advanced motion estimation research from Oculus. Along with the added Lanzo's resampling method, the resulting quality is better than ever. Now let's look at the vector generator node first. Due to the addition of the new and improved motion estimation algorithm from Oculus, we now have a choice of methods to generate the vectors, regularized and local. Local is the conventional method, and regularized is the new, which is a semi-global motion estimation, taking temporal change into account to provide better resampled result. The vector smoothness control is changed to strength for regularized. Strength value has an opposite effect as smoothness. Basically, while in regularized mode, we start globally, and the strength control allows us to bring back local detail. So the larger the value, the more detail, and therefore less smooth. As you can see, this is the exact opposite as smoothness to local, where you start with local details, and the larger the smoothness value, the smoother the result will be. Here's a screen grab of vector generator control panels of Nuke 8 and 9. Nuke 8 is on the left and Nuke 9 on the right. Even though the new control panel doesn't look too much different, the addition of the new algorithm really brings image reconstruction to a new level. Let's look at a couple examples to see the differences between the old and new algorithms. Let's look at the motion layer. This is from the new algorithm, regularized. You can see that everything's very smooth. If I go to local, the old algorithm, we get much chunkier information. Even if I crank the vector detail up to 1, we get more information. However, you can see that we still get very rough edges. Compare that to regularized. And if I also raise the vector detail up to 1 for regularized, we get more information and everything is still nice and smooth. Compare that to local, regularized. We can see that the old algorithm simply gives you chunkier information, rougher edges, which is going to cause the posing effect in your final render. Let's look at another example. I'm setting the vector detail to 1 here. Let's go to the motion layer. This is from the new algorithm, regularized. Let's go look at local and compare the two. We can see that regularized does provide us more detail and smoother transition between areas. These vectors are generated with the same vector detail settings in local and regularized. There is no equivalency between the smoothness and strength values, however. As you can see, though, that the vectors from regularized on the right-hand side has higher accuracy and better details, which will provide smoother and less posing result. The working of the node is otherwise much the same as before. Now let's get on to the motion blur node. Motion blur has also adopted the newer motion estimation algorithm from Oculus. In its control panel, we get a new regularized option in addition to the conventional local method. And the resampling filters now include the new Lanzo's filters. The working of the node itself is otherwise the same as before. Here's a screen grab of the default motion blur control panels from Nuke 8 and Nuke 9. Nuke 8 on the left and 9 on the right. You can see the new node is basically the same other than the new additions. Now let's see an example from the new motion blur node. Motion blur can generate motion vectors internally. So let's hook up a motion blur node directly to an input footage and look at the result. This is from regularized. Let's change it to local. We can see a lot of misplaced pixels. Regularized, however, gives us much smoother result. To see the improvement in performance, let's also take a look at the vector blur node, which does not have the GPU capability. Here's the setup for comparison. The vector input of the motion blur node is hooked up directly to the vector generator, so it doesn't have to calculate it to be the same as the vector blur. I've also just cleared the cache. Now let's take a look at the output from motion blur. So we start. And here we have it. Now, let's take a look at the vector blur. Here we go. And now we get the result. It's easy to see how fast motion blur renders now with the GPU capability. In conclusion, the newer vector generator and motion blur in Nuke 9 are noticeably faster and better, thanks to the newer motion estimation algorithm and the new addition of the Lenzo's resampling filters. This is Jen and So from Escape Studios for the Foundry.